How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to In the Pit with Steve. I am your conductor on this train, and we're going to follow the hollow because today we are taking a look at Soilwork. This is a band I've long been familiar with. I would say I probably get introduced to them around the time of, was it Natural Born Chaos? Is that the name? Yes, Natural Born Chaos, figure number 5. So I've been familiar with the band for a while. I'll be honest, I kind of dropped in and out of them for a while. The last time I was really listening to them was close to 10 years ago when the Ride Majestic came out, and I thought that album was just fantastic. I had a coworker at the time that was super into Soilwork, and he was like, hey, you gotta listen to their new album, and I did, and I really loved it, but I did not listen to the last two albums. But the way I kind of got introduced to them was through the song Follow the Hollow. That was the first one I remember hearing. My first like serious band growing up. You know, the first band where it was like, okay, we're actually going to write more than one song and like actually write songs that have like a function, like a functional kind of beginning, middle, and end kind of thing, you know. The guitar player was just really into that kind of European metalcore-ish, you know, the kind of stuff that was coming from At the Gates, you know, like the really melodic stuff. He was really into all that and got us into Soilwork. And the band didn't really sound like Soilwork or anything, but he was just really into that sound. And so we all kind of just by proxy got really into the band at the time. Same with In Flames. He was probably In Flames was like his biggest influence, but he really kind of opened the door to the rest of the band, to some of the stuff that was going on outside the States. And it was, you know, definitely allowed us to kind of gain more influence from things we weren't just listening to, you know, at the time, you know, early 2000s, you know, sure, the internet was out there and stuff like that, and you could do research and things like that. But unless you were really kind of paying attention, you know, there are definitely bands that could just fly right by, you know. But I think this was about the time that it kind of really opened me up to like get more into finding newer bands and not just relying on kind of what was being spoon fed to you in the metal magazines or, you know, MTV at the time was still playing some metal music videos and stuff like that, but really kind of branching out on your own. So Soilwork was one of those first bands for me that did that. And I really wish I would have kept up with them a little bit more because I've always enjoyed what I've heard from them, but I saw that they have a new song out, and apparently this is not indicative of a new album coming out. It's just a standalone song that they're putting out. They have a tour starting soon. This is called Spirit of No Return. And I'm excited. You know, it's like I said, it's been almost 10 years. Ride Majestic came out in 2015 since I've really dug into what they were doing. So I'm kind of curious what Soilwork sound like in 2024. So without any further ado, let's get in the pit with Soilwork. Before this gets too far away from us, because they are going at a breakneck pace here. I like it. This is good. It sounds like Soilwork, and I don't mean that in a bad way. You know, not saying that they like haven't evolved over the past 10 years, but I mean, it still sounds like them, you know, and that little like sneaky like synth line that came in there. Ooh, that was nice. I like that. Guitar sound good. Bjorn sounds good. Yeah, just it's an enjoyable track so far. Like that little like guitar solo interlude thing to bring us back into the into the verse. Like kind of, I didn't expect that. That's kind of nice. Yeah, this is a solid track for so far. I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. You know, it's 5 minutes long. They've got a lot of songs in their catalog that kind of take some twists and turns, you know, throughout the song. They're definitely not a band that's unwilling to kind of experiment and change things up and do some stuff. They're, you know, they've got some songs certainly that are straightforward, but you know, I always like to see where a band kind of like, hey, let's instead of going right, let's go left. And I get the feeling that maybe we'll get something like that with us. So let's keep going. Is that it? No, we're getting close to it. It's a nice little long fade. All right. Maybe some credits. Nope. Just black. Okay. All right. Overall, I thought it was a very enjoyable song. I have a few critiques of it, but they're largely not related to the like structure of the song. I don't know, just wanted to get a shot there, whatever. I think the keys should have been brought up a little bit more in the mix. You know, at the beginning of the song, you kind of hear them come in and he repeats it later on in the song, and you can just kind of hear it enough that it's like, oh, that's nice. You know, that's a nice little touch. And then later on, they kind of like do another key motif, and it's very difficult to hear. I think they just needed to be raised up a little bit in the mix. There was a couple of parts in the song where they were just kind of pulling out the bag of tricks a little bit too much. Like, I think like the mini little guitar solo or guitar solo like interlude to move from chorus to verse at the beginning of the song was pretty neat. They do it again in a shorter section. It's only like 2 bars of the bass player kind of having like a little show off moment. And then there's like the pick slide one for the other guitar player. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, every time we transition out, we're going to do a different thing in our bag of tricks. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I'd have to listen to the song a couple more times to figure out, it's like, oh, is this working or is this not? But those are very, very minor nitpicks, and those are like personal preference things. The majority of people are not going to give a shit. These are just things that I think about, I guess, just the way my brain works. But I really like it. I like how they drop in and out of halftime. To kind of shift the song from gear to gear. The song could have worked, I guess, if they wanted to keep it like full speed ahead the entire way through. Sometimes it gets a little boring, so it's nice that they kind of drop in and out. I love the guitar solo was very tastefully done. Drummers on point. Everybody sounds really good. Vocals are great. So I mean, just very, very minor things that I can really criticize, because I think it's a really strong song. And if this is indicative of what the next album is going to sound like, if an album is coming at some point, it looks like this is a standalone song for the purposes of right now. But this could be a situation where what was it before We Are Not Your Kind by Slipknot? They put out the standalone song, and then the album came out a year later or whatever, and it just wasn't on the album. So maybe it's something like that. There's a lot of bands that are doing that now. Spirit Box releases non-album, non-EP singles. And, it's just one of those things where I guess, bands these days, the music industry at one point in time was very different, where it was all about the album, and then it was all about the single, and then it was all about the album again. And then really, once the dawn of digital streaming came about, then it was really just about the singles. But rock music, metal music, that kind of thing still kind of clung mostly to the album sort of construct of, we're going to write and record an album that should be listened to from beginning to end, and we'll release our singles. But it's kind of been lightening up a bit over the past few years. We've seen more of the kind of the newer wave of successful heavy bands doing these non-album singles and just kind of keeping their name out there, because traditionally, you would release the album, tour for a couple years, take a year off, take 2 years off, whatever it would be, put another album out, tour for a couple of years off of it, and kind of rinse and repeat. And now, instead of having that lull in between things, bands are just kind of putting out, here's a random song to kind of keep you interested in what we're doing. We are taking a break right now, but here's a song. And, it just kind of keeps you out there, which I get. It's so competitive these days that you sort of are forced into a corner to do that. So I don't blame bands for kind of changing with the times, because I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think there's certainly some trends in the music industry you can point to and say, God, this is terrible. And then there's some you can point to and be like, hey, we're getting more music from the bands that we love. They're not locked in to a record label telling them, no, you will tour and write this album, and then tour and then write this album, and just kind of go on and on and on. So it's nice to see some changes with that. But yeah, in terms of Soilwork, I got to get back into listening to this band. I'm going to have to pay attention to them now, if they have put another song out, if they're gearing up for an album, whatever it may be. I've also never gotten a chance to see them live. So if they start touring, it looks like they're touring in Europe right now, but maybe next year, if they do a North America tour, maybe I get a chance to see them. I think that they would be a very enjoyable band to see live. So that's going to do it for right now. And we'll be back in just a moment to wrap things up with some final thoughts. Soilwork is a band that's been through like 9 million lineup changes, but it's never really kind of stopped the band from just kind of plowing forward. They still sound great. They don't really miss a beat. For someone like me who hasn't really listened to them in almost 10 years, can jump right back into this and be like, shit, why am I not listening to this band? Like they just put out such a consistent, lineup of songs throughout their catalog. They have I would say that they have like a really solid and respectable catalog of stuff. I haven't listened to every album, so maybe they have some down points. Maybe Soilwork fans in the comments can point out like, hey, maybe they had a misstep with this album or something like that. But every time that I check in with them, I'm very pleased with what I hear. So this was no different. If you're new to the band, I definitely recommend going back and listening to some of their early catalog. You'll see the threads of how influential they were to kind of the metal landscape of the early to mid 2000s. Bands like In Flames that were kind of they're contemporary at the time. They were out, releasing music at the same time. And if you really want to go backwards, I'm not a big At the Gate fans, but you can. I'm not a big At the Gate fan, but you can certainly listen to their music and be like, oh my God, every band fucking ripped them off for decades to come. There's a reason why a lot of early metalcore was kind of jokingly referred to as At the Gates core. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you once again for getting in the pit. We'll see you again real soon.